of the RISE Women's Conference. Thrilled to have everyone here today. We have some great panelists here to share their stories, who I think you'll really enjoy hearing from. But as you log on, if everyone can just put in the chat, just introduce yourselves. And in honor of the great Secretary Madeleine Albright, who passed away today, maybe also mention who your most respected woman leader is as well. It's always nice to see who's in the room. Welcome, Anisha. Yes, I knew RBG would be one of the, would top the list, and of course, it's one of the first ones mentioned. Thank you. Welcome, Susan. Nice to see you here. So for those of you just joining, we're introducing ourselves in chat, as well as answering the question, who is one of your most respected woman leaders? In addition to yourselves, of course. So it looks like we have a few more joining. Great, thank you all, welcome. Okay, we had a few more join. We're just introducing ourselves quickly in the chat. Okay. There we go. Well, if you haven't introduced yourself in the chat yet, please do. It's nice for everyone to know who's on the who's in the session and who has joined today. For not only to know your names, but also consider this the beginning of creating a network of elected officials that you can reach out to for advice and counsel. So welcome, everyone. We're very pleased to have you here today. And we know this is a little bit ahead of the actual conference, which kicks off tomorrow. So thanks for joining us. This is presented today both by the Commission on the Status of Women, as well as the Thrive Alliance for Nonprofits in San Mateo County and Leadership Council, San Mateo County. So we will we'll start out. We think we've got three amazing elected officials today who I'm really excited for you all to hear their stories. I think they'll inspire you, and they'll also continue to give you confidence to run for office if that's what you're considering. So I will start with a land acknowledgement. Fantastic. So we acknowledge that our office operates on the ancestral homeland of the Ramaytush Ohlone tribes, past and present. We honor with gratitude the land itself and the people who have stored it through the generations. As organizations that are dedicated to advancing equity, practicing empathy, and understanding each other's differences, we aspire to show appreciation, respect, and concern for all connected to this land. We also acknowledge our committed relationship to the Indigenous peoples, and we gratefully recognize our history. So next slide, please. Fantastic, thank you. Well, I'll just start out by telling you a little bit about Leadership Council San Mateo County, and I'll also tell you a little bit about myself. So for Leadership Council, we are a nonprofit organization that operates within the county. Our vision is that we believe communities are stronger when a diversity of leaders are connected, knowledgeable, and targeted in their efforts to create positive change. We inspire and connect and educate both established and emerging leaders, and we do that across three sectors. So we do it across the nonprofit, government, and business sectors. And we believe that by bringing these three sectors together and educating them, building networks, that we can empower them to positively transform San Mateo County. So, and what that really means in terms of what we do as an organization, as we are, as I mentioned, a county-wide program, and we run leadership immersion programs as well as individual training programs and events. So our immersion programs are 10-month-long programs that meet once a month, where we do a deep discussion on particular issues facing our county. And all of our classes are very carefully composed of individuals from all three sectors. So from the public sector, the government sector, and the nonprofit sector. The business sector. And we bring together leaders to establish deep relationships and to learn together and come up with creative solutions about solving issues within our county. We have that program. We have one for senior leaders where we have elected officials, C-suite executives, and business owners, as well as nonprofit EDs. I'm happy to say we have a couple people here today who are in our current senior leaders class. We have council member Dr. Sophie Cole, who's in our class, as well as we have Susan Corcleotis, who is on the Commission for the Status of Women, who is also in our current class. We also have launching this year the Emerging Leaders class, which is for younger, or really for people entering the workforce who are at the beginning of their career, and really providing them with the leadership skills and the networks they need to grow together as a cohort in the county, as well as continue to have the impact in the county they're hoping to have. So that's what we do as an organization. And we also do individual events as well. And we do have our application process is currently open for both our senior leaders and our emerging leaders programs right now. If you want to have a look, we have detailed information on our website, and we welcome anyone who'd be interested in attending one of these programs to apply. Our applications are open until May 2nd. We also have a couple of events coming up which are free, and I would really welcome people to attend. Can we have the next slide, please? So we are in conjunction with Thrive, we're having a District 3 candidate forum for the supervisory seat in District 3, which is going to be vacated by Don Horsley, who has finished his term on the Board of Supervisors, and that will be on April 21st. And then there's a training that we're offering, which is a 90-minute training which is going to be delivered by leadership professionals, leadership coaching professionals, about how to empower your team. And we'd really welcome anyone who's either on a team or leading a team to attend this training. It's over lunchtime, and we're offering it free of charge to make it accessible to everyone in the community. So that's Leadership Council. A tiny bit about myself. I am Karen Hardy, and I am co-president of Leadership Council. And I was also, I sat on the Hillsborough City School Board. And so I have run for office, and I'm really excited for those of you who've joined us today who are thinking about running for office, because it is a fantastic journey. I hope that all of you will trust your instincts. You want to run for office for a reason. And if you explain that reason and talk to people about why you're running for office, you will find that a lot of it comes very naturally. And that process is both empowering and something that is much needed for the community. And I would also encourage you to seek out a mentor, someone in elected office. You would be, I think you'd be pleasantly surprised by how many people are out there willing to support you, willing to give you advice, be a sounding board, and to be a support and support you in your journey. So look forward to hearing from all of you today, and I'm going to pass it along to Petra Silton, who's here from Thrive.
Hi, welcome everyone. I'm Petra Silton, the Director of Advocacy and Education for Thrive, which is the Alliance for Nonprofits for San Mateo County. And I'm just going to tell you a little bit about Thrive. For those of you who aren't aware, we are cross-sector. So we have members who are individuals as well as nonprofits, government, businesses, individuals, and philanthropy. Next slide. We have a lot of programs that support the community in general in San Mateo County. We've been working with the county to work on COVID education. We do Wellness Wednesdays specifically for nonprofit staff, because we know how hard this has been on nonprofit staff. We have a children in education group that meets regularly as well to talk about out-of-school learning and learning loss. And many other programs, and you're welcome to join any of our mailing lists to find out more about that. But specifically, what we're here to talk about is a lot about civic participation. So I wanted to let you know some things that are coming up that are very relevant to civic participation. We are going to be hosting candidate forums for 6 different offices that are happening for the June elections. And I want to remind people, because I think we all forget this, if any candidate in the June primary, if any local candidate gets more than 50% of the vote, like one more than 50% of the vote, then there is no November election for that office. So don't think, oh, this is just a primary election. This isn't important. This election is important as well. So in addition to our candidate forums, we meet regularly as a voter education and outreach advisory committee for the elections office. And those meetings are monthly and they are open. So if you want to talk about voter education and what's going on in the county and how it works specifically with the government, you're welcome to come to those. And then we are offering this year a new program, which is an outreach toolkit. So if any of you are interested, we're going to be putting together something that you can take and give to someone, and they can have an informal gathering with this toolkit, and it'll have all of your questions answered so that you can just help communities that aren't as involved become more involved and participate more in elections. So that's some of the work we're doing on civic participation. We also have a couple other things that we want you to know about. We do a Thrive Resource Room event, which is, oh, sorry, going straight. There it is, which just tells is an opportunity to learn about all of the things that Thrive provides for nonprofits, as well as we're going to be presenting about the leadership program. Karin will be our special guest, but also just other things that are available for nonprofits through the Thrive network. And we're also going to be hosting, in addition to our 6 candidate forums I just talked about, we're going to be hosting one that's specifically just on the environment. We'll also be hosting one that's specifically just on children's issues. So to find out more about those, go ahead and get to the next slide. You can always go to our website. So this is our next voter education, which you're invited to, and then our Sheriff Candidate Forum. And if you look at the bottom, you see all of those different organizations. We very much believe in partnering with organizations because these are important issues, and the more people that get involved, the better. So you'll see that we have a lot of partners. So we look forward to having you there. And just the last thing is, if anybody would like to actually join, we're doing our first in-person event, and we are very excited about being able to do that for our environment and sustainability group, and really anyone is welcome. We're going to be doing an Earth Day social, so please join us at Twin Pines Park. So with that, I do want to let you know that we do have live transcript on this, so if you need to follow along, you can. The instructions are on the screen, and please reach out to Yahaira Ortega, who's here from Thrive Alliance, if you have any questions about how to do that. And the last thing I just wanted to review before we go on is how to vote, because I am still often hearing things like voting day is June 7th. Well, June 7th is the last day to vote. But we actually have a voting period from any time, as soon as you get your ballot in the mail, which is going to be 30 days before June 7th. And all places, if you want to vote in person, all of them are open the 4 days preceding June 7th. So you can go and vote any of those times if you need to vote in person. You can vote anywhere in the county. You don't have to go to anywhere specific, as long as it's in the county. If you've lost your ballot, if you need to re-register any of those things, you can do that in a vote center, and every vote center is going to be open Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. So all of the I can't vote because I'm at work or whatever, none of that is actually relevant in our county anymore. And if you are registered to vote, you will get a ballot in the mail, so you don't even have to leave your house. So with that, what I'd like to do is introduce our distinguished panelists. So first of all, we have Sophie Cole. Dr. Sophie Cole is the council member in Hillsborough. We have Vice Mayor of South San Francisco, Flor Nicolas, and we have San Mateo Union High School District Board Trustee, Ligia Andrade Zúñiga. So thank you all so much for being here and for having this important conversation about running for office. And what we're going to do is we're going to start by having each of you kind of tell your story. How did you get here? Why did you run for office? What was kind of your motivation? And then we'll go into some questions. We've got some great questions already in the chat, and we have some questions prepared. So I'm sure we'll have a very robust conversation. So Dr. Cole, would you like to start?
Yes. First of all, welcome everyone, and thank you for taking the time. I am always inspired being around thoughtful and engaged women in particular who are thinking of ways to improve our society. So I think I would consider myself a rather unlikely person to enter politics. I am an immigrant. I was born in West Africa, Sierra Leone, and my mother, after my father died, my mother immigrated to the United States. And she was basically a single mother with 5 children that she had to raise, and there were lots and lots of challenges, as you can imagine. And along the way, I found a lot of unlikely mentors, especially in college, a lot of men and women who mentored me through the process. Finance was always an issue. And I remember many of our community saying to me, you don't really have to be a doctor. You just, at the point I was expressing that I wanted to become a doctor, and in fact was not encouraged, was discouraged, and told perhaps I should focus on trying to just marry a doctor, which I ended up doing eventually after I became a doctor. But I grew up on the East Coast. When my family immigrated to the United States, we grew up in Washington, D.C., Maryland area. And then I went to college in upstate New York and went to Yale University Medical School. And after completing my residency there, came to UCSF for residency. It was actually the only school I looked at on the West Coast. I thought I was going to end up staying on the East Coast. But it's really hard when you visit San Francisco in April, and it's absolutely gorgeous. And it was snowing in New Haven when I left, so it was an easy decision. I just thought I was so fortunate to be in San Francisco on that particular day. So I moved to San Francisco and did my medical residency, which is where I met my husband, Arnold Foster. He's also a physician. And we're fortunate enough to live in a wonderful community in Hillsborough. We've raised 2 children who have all attended schools in Hillsborough and gone back to the East Coast for college and then moved back to California. So it's wonderful. Both our kids now live in San Francisco. So we have the privilege of being able to see them often. In fact, my daughter is getting married in July. So that's very exciting. I never thought I would be in this position right now. But so why did I decide to run in 2020? Well, a couple of things. I was very frustrated and unhappy about the political discourse around the time of 2020. It had sort of been building up. And also, when the pandemic hit early that year, I thought, well, I have some very unique perspective and insights as far as how our community can move forward on some of the challenges that we're going to be facing. During my medical training, I've had the opportunity to actually work in a couple of epidemics in West Africa and other parts of the world. So I was somewhat familiar with pandemics and epidemics and how they can impact communities. And so prior to that, several friends in town had mentioned that I should consider running for city council, but I always focused on the fact that I was a physician. I considered myself a public servant and did not think of myself as a politician. But when the pandemic hit, it was clear that I had a role to play. And that really was one of the things that inspired me to say, well, there are all kinds of things that are going to happen because of this pandemic. People are going to be isolated. Students are not going to be able to go to school as normal. Communications is going to be critical. So I thought I could bring a unique perspective on how the council can begin to address that, or at least help the other entities in town, such as our school board, to address that. So that was definitely one of the most motivating aspects for my reason to run. I felt I could leverage my 30 years of expertise in public health and medicine to help the community of Hillsborough navigate through the challenges of the pandemic. And interestingly, I also really love the idea of participating in a small community. I will never consider myself a politician because I cannot imagine doing anything at a national level. But I love the idea that it was a smaller community and my thoughts and ideas will be impactful. And the other thing that was also very attractive in my election was that our community, at least there was just this general understanding that we're not going to focus, we're not going to spend too much time on fundraising. In fact, we had a cap that you could not donate more than $100 per candidate. We just felt too much money in politics was part of the problem. We need to talk about how we're going to actually solve problems, and especially in local government. So the fact that I did not have to do a lot of fundraising, having money was not such a big issue, I think was very attractive. And I hope that that's something that we can begin to nurture in many communities. And I also think as a mother, as a woman, I've never felt like I had the tools to really participate in this forum, but in a way, it challenged me to come up with the courage to step up and do something that was completely out of my comfort zone. And I am, I'm really enjoying the opportunity and getting to know the community even better, and also learning a lot that, being in medicine compared to some of the issues that I have to think about now are quite different. But so that's my general history, and that's why I got into politics, at least local politics, and we'll see where it leads.
Thank you, Sophie, for sharing that. And I really appreciate that this is something out of your comfort zone, because I think it's very few people for whom being political is in their comfort zone. So we appreciate you kind of calling that out. Flor, would you like to go next?
Sure. Good afternoon to all of the aspiring young women leaders who are with us today, and it is my honor and privilege to be here with all of you and with other fellow elected officials. My name is Flor Nicolas, and I'm currently serving, as I have been introduced, Vice Mayor of South San Francisco. I was elected in 2018, only the 4th woman in the City Council in the 114-year history of our city. Currently, I'm the only female member of the City Council. More than 30 years ago, my husband and I immigrated from the Philippines with 2 young children. And right now, I am a grandmother of 3, a young grandson who's 7 years old, and 2 granddaughters who are 4 and 6 months old. Professionally, I have spent approximately a quarter century of my life in various biotech companies. And currently, I'm the Vice President of Global Drug Safety and Pharmacovigilance at a precision oncology biotech company in New York. I always started as a new immigrant, I started to be a volunteer in my children's school because I want them to be comfortable with their surroundings. And so therefore, I think that when they're comfortable, then they can learn better. And so in more than 30 years as a community volunteer, I caught the eye of the former mayor, Carol Matsumoto, who was the first Asian and second woman in our city council. And she encouraged me to run. And so many times I have said no. In 2018, however, I was very disheartened by the anti-immigrant rhetoric we hear all the time. While having our usual Sunday family dinner, I looked across the table and I saw my 2 grandchildren, the older ones, and they are Americans who happen to be Asians. They will never know any other country but this. I felt the responsibility to show them, not just in words, but in deeds, that we are productive citizens of this country and we should not be treated any differently. I have a full plate. I owe it to my husband of 44 years, who is a very supportive partner. He was the one who said yes first to Carol. So that's why I ran. I am the primary caregiver also to my frail 88-year-old mother, and my husband helps a lot. I'm blessed where I am right now. My mother has 6 years of education. My father only has 5, but they instilled in us the value of education. So they made all of us, and in the Philippines, we have to pay our way. We don't have loans. And all 6 of us went to college. Education, if not formally in school, is very, very important. Something that I also instilled in my children and my family. It gives us new perspectives. Thank you.
Thank you, Flor. Another immigrant story. Ligia, do you want to share your story?
Sure. Hola, buenas tardes. Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. My name is Ligia Andrade Zúñiga. I am a trustee for the San Mateo Union High School District. I also do a lot of work around disability justice and civil rights. I am actually a Bay Area native. I was born and raised in Redwood City. My parents immigrated here from Guatemala in the 70s, right before the Civil War. They met here, and that's where my brothers and I were born and raised. I was a product of the public school system. I went to Sequoia High School, and I went to Notre Dame de Namur University for my undergrad and my graduate studies. But I also went to CSM, and I transferred from CSM with an AA, but then also it was important because it helped me understand what I wanted to get into for the rest of my life. Whatever, you have to choose what you want to do to get into college and things like that. So when I was in high school, I started to learn about social justice and civil rights. We were at a moment when we were protesting Proposition 187, and that proposition directly affected my family because unfortunately, people were just sometimes picked up off the street, and there wasn't a question about whether they were citizens or not. And so my family was really scared because we didn't know if one of us would be picked up randomly, or my parents wouldn't come home, or it was really scary at that time. And we also had a situation at the school district that the teachers were fighting for more pay. And so one of my teachers was awesome, and she really taught us about the importance of your voice and speaking out at just any sort of leadership opportunity, and say what you want, especially when you're a young person. And so, like Rigoberta Menchú, the Guatemalteca activist, she said there's a book she wrote. It's called Y así me nació la conciencia, which means that's how my consciousness was born. And that's where my consciousness was born. And so I pursued a lot of different leadership opportunities at that point. One of the first commissions that I ever served on was actually the San Mateo County Commission on the Status of Women many moons ago. But it's amazing to see how far the commission has come, like this conference and things like that. It's amazing. And so I also served on the Teen Pregnancy Prevention Coalition. I was a teen mother, actually. I had my son when I was 17. And so if it wasn't for people that really supported me in my education, I wouldn't have been able to graduate. My counselor at school really pushed me to continue my advanced classes and go to college and things like that. So that's where that came from. And then in 2009, I was in a really bad car accident. I became a quadriplegic. So I'm paralyzed from the chest down, and my hands don't work very well. At that point, because of the foundation that I had before in social justice and a lot of the work that I did, grassroots organizing and things like that, I went to work for a Center for Independent Living in San Jose called the Silicon Valley Independent Living Center. And so I learned a lot about disability justice, equal rights, because I had also a foundation in immigrant rights, and I could bridge all of these communities. Our intersectionality is what makes our community so robust and so diverse. So one of the things that I saw was that there weren't very many people that were elected officials and that were in leadership that had identified as someone with a disability. And also just women, there weren't a lot of women, and there weren't a lot of people of color. And so that really, it really pushed me to think about what type of leadership, what leadership meant to me, like what I wanted it to look like. And again, also in my previous life, I guess, before my injury, youth empowerment was really important to me. I really believe that we need to create bridges And we need to pull our young people up with us and teach them like we're doing now. This is, these opportunities are super valuable to show our young people and people who don't see themselves in leadership that there are possibilities, that it doesn't have to be the traditional candidate that we always have. So I really, when I ran, what was really interesting is that I had to do a lot of self-reflection. The whole imposter syndrome was really, really deep in me. I didn't know that I belonged there. I didn't think that it was something that that I could pursue it, but would I be successful? Would people see me as me without the chair? Because I'm a power chair user. So the pandemic really also pushed me to do it because it was accessible. Finally, people with disabilities were about to be like more included. And so now that was the opportunity that I had because people would see me for me and not so much just the chair. And so one more thing that really pushes me is a quote by Angela Davis. It says, you must act as if you can radically change the world, and you have to do it all the time. So that is the motivation. Thank you.
I love that quote. That's terrific. I think we've heard a lot about education and kind of what you've been inspired by. What I'd love to hear from each of you is, did you have a specific mentor or a specific person that's kind of helped you, maybe either in the inspiration process or also kind of with the mechanics of it, like knowing, like, who was it that gave you the courage to do it, and who was it who kind of told you, and then what you need to do is all of this to make sure that it happens? So we'd love to hear kind of how that worked for each of you. Ligia, do you want to continue?
Sure. I actually really believe that you should have different mentors. In my experience, I have different people that I call to for different expertises, like certain areas. For example, when I was running, Emily Beach and Davina Drabkin were really instrumental in my campaign, along with a lot of other people. Like, my campaign team was very diverse, lots of young people, people with disabilities, people of color. And even just now with the school board, I have a lot of different friends that I can call on for different reasons. And then in my life, different mentors. So I just think that diversity and mentorship is important because not everybody has the same strengths. So yeah, that was my experience.
Thank you. Flor?
Sure. I think my inspiration is my grandmother. I was very close to her in my early years. She's an illiterate widow at 35, 3 children, bringing up my mom and 2 other siblings. Her stories of resilience, I understood at a very young age how important it is to, understand how to get up. Don't, fight everything that happens in your life. You can do it. Many teachers in high school saw my potential, and this is one thing that I usually do when I see a child or a young woman. You give them something to hold on to. I remember losing a student council race, and one teacher stepped me aside and she counseled me and said, you should do everything you can to get there if you really want it. Don't be remorseful. Never be remorseful again. And so the idea that even if I lose, I can truly face myself because I did the best is what I did when I was campaigning. I left no stone unturned. I go door to door. I did everything. And when I came to America, I learned that I needed to show my children to navigate our new world. And I was fortunate enough to meet Alice Bulos, a beloved civil rights leader and advocate of Filipino rights and integrity. and her grandchildren were in my children's school. She showed me that I can elevate the voices of immigrants and what it means to be a woman leader. Later on, because I was volunteering in a lot of city activities, like I said, the former mayor, Carol Matsumoto, had been a great mentor and close ally when I was running for office. And, as a way of giving or paying forward, professionally, I have mentored a lot of young women in the biotech industry. Many are immigrants who are seeking jobs for the first time, and I show them the way. And, they're all over the biotech companies in the Bay Area now. And we're hoping that we can change the world and help our daughters, granddaughters, future granddaughters of our daughters to reach and become their aspirations a reality. We have to carry on the mission of ensuring that they have the same opportunities as our sons and grandsons. Mentors are all around us, and I think just be open to possibilities, perhaps in a casual conversation at the supermarket, at church, our children's school, a volunteer opportunity. Someone will be able to point you to the right direction, and you may find someone who's willing to hold your hand and show you because you have a potential or a spark. Just always be kind.
Thank you, Flor. Sophie?
Thank you.
Yeah, well, I think my number one mentor in not only with regards to being the city council or running for office, but just almost everything I've done, which is raised in a family and juggling a medical practice and raising young children. My number one mentor has been my husband. He actually has given me the space and the support to do more because he's always told me, recognize the fact that I can make a significant impact. So as an adult, since I got married, I would say that would be sort of my best mentor that gives me the space to move forward. But on a perhaps on a level that is perhaps more transformative for me, has been all the women leaders that I've been fortunate enough to see on the platform, from my local community, other city council members who are women in our council currently, to state level, people like Jackie Spear, and at the national level. Just seeing women be so effective in getting things done has been very instrumental in the way I think about my ability to get things done. I also have had an experience where I was involved. I worked with the hospital for a 15-year period, where the first 12 years we had a male administrator, not a wonderful person, but in terms of how much we were able to accomplish when we eventually switched to an amazing woman who got so much done in such a short period of time, I thought, yes, women do have that special skills to walk and chew gums at the same time, pursue careers and raise a family and deal with the challenges of raising young kids. So I think it's just that unique quality. I'm not trying to sound sexist for the men who are listening in, but women do come with a very special insight and ability to just make it happen, to get it done, get the job done. So
the walking and chewing gum, of course, probably resonates with many of us. And one of the questions in the chat, I'm going to paraphrase here, is how do you do it all? Like, how do you have a young child, or, balance taking care of your parents, whatever it is, whatever your family obligations are, and a job? Because I don't actually know, but I think a lot of your positions pay not very much or none at all. So how do you make it work? Whoever wants to go first.
Well, I can just opine on that further. I think the most important thing, the most important advice, I mentor some young women now, is first is self-care, to value yourself and take care of yourself. That's where it starts, both physically and mentally. And that gives you the space to do better, to do more for others. Whether for me, for example, it's my patients and of course my constituents, But my own family, my kids, my husband, my friends, I have an extended network of friends I play tennis with, women friends, and we do these women trips together. But I think self-care is an important part of being able to make it happen. And also acknowledging that I'm not going to be good at every aspect of my life all the time. I can think of several incidents when my kids were really young and I was on call at the hospital overnight and my son had the flu. And I mean, there were just so many of those stories of whether they had a project that wasn't completed, but I was on call, and sort of the guilt that I carried with me for the next several days. As a woman and a leader in your community, there's always certain parts of your life that's never going to be perfect. Same with my career. There was a time when I just stopped. I had my second child, my son was premature, and I took 6 months off practicing medicine, and that was very challenging. In fact, I did not get much support from my colleagues. The other doctors did not think it was appropriate for me to be off for 6 months. But I said, when my son comes home, I'll come back to work. He was in the hospital for 4.5 months. So, I mean, it's never going to be perfect, but just understanding that not all aspects of your life is going to be perfect and doing the best you can at each stage. It's important.
Wow, Dr. Cole, you're absolutely right. I think we have to be patient with ourselves. And I think we have to remember that asking for help is not weakness. And so like for me, I think if I didn't have the help of so many different people, I wouldn't have been able to do it all. My kids were young when I was in college, and I don't even know how we did it between, like sports games and, school and homework, and you still have to be present for your children. That's the whole point, right? Is being present. So not taking on so much to where you're burning yourself out, but your limits, and self-inventory, I think, is very important. But Dr. Cole's right, self-care. And every couple weeks, check in with yourself. Okay, am I doing okay? What's going on? Is my attitude changing or whatever? It's because when you're really tired, it's hard. And so ask for help if you need to.
Yeah, and really true. That is, we women try to do everything, and it's perfectly fine. Perfectly imperfect is fine. I also, like I said, when I came here, I have 2 young children, and juggling that and having health issues. I'm a cancer survivor. And then later on, I had a brain tumor. All these things, physical challenges and health challenges. And I won't be able to do everything I do if not for the people around me who help me, and also because I seek help when I need to. So don't be a superwoman. Nobody is, and you already are a superwoman. You are more than enough.
Well said.
Mm-hmm. What do you wish you knew before you ran? What do you want to tell these people that you wish somebody had told you?
It's not as scary as it sounds. Just do it. Well, let me back up a bit. I think one of the questions I saw was, how do we handle the issue of so much money in politics? And I think that's very intimidating and very daunting, and it could get in the way. And this is an area where I think women can continue to make change, to say we don't need all this money in politics, but we can still affect change in our communities. So I would say be courageous. Just jump in.
My father's side of the family had been in politics in the Philippines for a long time, and I know the sacrifices that everyone in the family does. So I knew that running for office because I helped campaign for many candidates in South City before, but I truly never realized how hard it was until I was campaigning door to door in 2018, when, some people would tell me to my face that I do not belong there. And this is just very isolated moments. I think most of the people in South City are decent and inclusive, But I got those, and that shocked me because, you know, I came to America and I'm living here in the Bay Area. I've never heard of such, but that was shocking to me. But you'll get over it. And you know, right after I was elected, we were talking about a big issue that everyone, my neighbors, people in the church, they are campaigning against it. I wasn't prepared to see their disappointed faces when I voted in favor of the issue, because I believe that it is for the whole community, the community benefits that it will bring to the entire city. It hurts a little bit, but then, you know, you get over it. So, you know, I think the first cut is the deepest. There was a song like that. And it's true, you'll get over it.
Yeah.
As long as you can face yourself and you did it. Yeah.
Yeah, I have to agree. Just, you know, just jump, do it. If you think about it too much, you know, you might not end up doing it. But I think for me, I didn't realize, well, I guess I knew it, but I didn't really know it, that you can't please everyone all the time. And that's okay. Sometimes when you're in these positions, it's really hard when you get those opposing messages, you know, or someone, you know, tells you, oh, I hate what you're doing. That's okay. That's part of it. You know, it's be easy on yourself. Again, right? You're not going to please everyone all the time, but also fight for what you need. Sometimes I was shy about asking for what I needed, like with accessibility or things like that. But no, that goes in with it too. You have to care for yourself too, and be bold enough to ask for what you want and what you need. I think that was something that I didn't really realize too.
So we're hopefully inspiring all these people on the call to get out there and run for office for themselves. What, you each were inspired by something specific. Has anything happened in office that made you think, I did the right thing? This is why I'm here. This happened because of me, or even this conversation got elevated because of me. What has felt really good about being in office?
I ran for office, like I said, to be a good example to my grandchildren, to make a difference in the lives of everyday people in South City. And during my regular interaction with friends before, they will just be complaining about things, and but they didn't want to get involved. So I want to show them that we are all in this together. If you don't point out these things, then nothing will happen. It will just be the same. It's insanity to expect something if you do the same thing over and over again. And my 7-year-old grandson now knows what the city council does, and he feels proud that I'm a part of the city council. So because of my position, I was able to somehow effect change and help those who need help. One recent example is facilitating the vaccination of kids from 5 to 11 years old when they became eligible. I know that there's a lot of wage earners in South San Francisco that, you know, taking their kids to the vaccination site that was at the time only at the event center was very, very difficult. They have to take off work, and there was no vaccination sites at our schools. And one time I heard of one city that has been using buses to take their kids to a vaccination site. So I discussed this with our city manager, and you know, we were able to get Genentech, thank you, Genentech, for having the bus available for the kids and their parents, and we took them to the event center. Because of the need, we eventually got vaccination sites because we proved to them that, you know, we need those sites in our schools. We were able to get the vaccination site in the school, and this greatly helped parents and of course also the health of our children, so they don't have to worry. My involvement in various subcommittees also at the city council for CBDG funds, and how we disperse those funds to help nonprofit organizations, to help the vulnerable communities. That is really wonderful. I chaired the Commission on Racial and Social Equity, which resulted on having our Racial and Social Equity Action Plan to guide our city's future, to ensure that there's inclusion and equity. So I feel like, you know, this is something that I'm very proud of and have accomplished.
One of the issues that I ran on was to increase the student voice and to make sure that our young people were being part of the leadership process. And I've seen in the past maybe, yeah, I've been on the board for a year now. This is my second year. I have seen so many more students participate in public comment and send us emails and get in touch with us. You know, that's what I wanted to see. I don't care if we agree or we don't agree. I just want to see you part of the process. And especially our young ladies, you know, we need to make sure that we're empowering them to get into these types of roles too. And I guess, you know, all students that, you know, are in underrepresented or underserved communities, I've seen that the school district is more open now to consider different communities. And I think they needed that perspective. And that is how I think things are evolving. So it makes me feel good that sometimes change is slow, but change happens. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, I think it's interesting. Some of the key issues that I was talking about when I was running, as soon as I got on the council, it seemed like one of them was major, which was the wireless issue in our town. We did push that forward and had a very extensive, robust discussion over many, many weeks with the public. But one of the things that became apparent to me is, and part of it could have been because of the pandemic, but also is this idea of transparency between the constituents and the city council, and how that communication needs to be guided by the residents. I mean, I continue every issue that comes up now. My first assessment of it, okay, how transparent is this issue, especially things that are very, you know, that are difficult. For example, the housing issue that we're dealing with. How do we make the conversation as transparent as possible? And how do we allow everyone of different perspectives to participate? And so I think for me, and I continue to work on this I've been on the council for a year now, a year and a few months, but I think that to me is a paramount criteria that it's sort of this lens that I take out on a lot of difficult issues and say, how transparent is the council and the staff being with the residents, and how accessible is the data and the information.
Thank you all for your answers. It's really inspiring to hear what you've been able to accomplish, but I also like that you've all emphasized the input that has increased. And I hate to use the cliche of silver linings of the pandemic, but I truly believe that there's been so much more civic engagement because people can do it from their living room and don't have to go to city council meeting and figure out what to do with their kids and be there until midnight. Right. So even for those of you who are on the call who are not necessarily going to take the jump, although we hope that you do, to run for office, just becoming more involved locally, you can get a lot done. We don't have a lot of time. I know I didn't get to all of the questions in the chat. We totally appreciate all of them. We will leave contact information for people to ask specific questions, but I would love to kind of end this on if each of you has just 2 or 3 words, super short, to describe what do you need to run for office? What do you think people need?
Well, I'm just going to throw out 3 words that comes to mind. You need to be able to listen more than you talk, which can be hard. And you need to have the courage to disagree, especially when you're in a forum or a committee or meeting or whatever, where people want a certain outcome. You have to, if you believe that it's not in the best interest of your constituents, or if it's not something you believe in that speaks to your values, to have the courage to disagree. And third, to be patient, because it is true, change is slow sometimes. but you need to stay at it and keep at it until it's effective.
Flor?
You know, Sheryl Sandberg said that in the future, there will be we hope that there will be no more female leaders. They will just be leaders. So I encourage all of you to do it because, you know, women has a certain insight, like Dr. Cole has said, that it's so different and it's needed. You know, 50% of the population are women. So just do it and follow your heart, be true to yourself.
Yeah, it's something that Council Member Nicolas said earlier. You are enough. You belong here. Don't let the negative self-talk get in there. The confidence that you know that you have will show through. But you belong here.
Mhm.
Fantastic. You, our panelists have really, so grateful to have you here. You've done a great job sharing your experiences and how important your involvement is in this process. There are voices that are heard because you have stepped into the spotlight, stepped into the race. We not only thank you for your leadership, but really some great advice today. Ask for help. You know, don't be afraid to ask for help, and don't be afraid to ask for what you need. Sometimes as women, we're not good at sort of saying what we need and what we want. So being able to find that voice is incredibly important. Self-care, making sure that we're looking after ourselves. As was mentioned here, we not only have jobs and our family members, but we're also carers. And we are thinking about taking this important step of running for office. So make sure that you're looking after yourselves. And most importantly, get a mentor. There are many people willing to mentor you, to give you advice, to help you through the process. And please reach out not only to people on this panel, but you can find emails to elected officials and you'd be surprised who says yes. But most importantly, we need your voice. We need your voice. We need you at the table. We need you to step into this race. We are a better community for it, whether it is a commission in the county, whether it's your school board, your city council, or higher office. It's important you're in the room because that's how people learn about different perspectives and learn about what the needs of all people in our communities are. So thank you so much. And thank you to Petra for, she is fantastic at running these forums, and really welcome everyone to join any of the Thrive events. When Petra said that they like partnering with organizations, she is absolutely right. They are an incredibly collaborative organization, bringing together nonprofits and raising all voices in the community. So thank you. And thank you to the Commission on Status of Women for having this fantastic session and inviting us all to participate. And a huge debt of gratitude to our panelists. Thank you very, very much.
And thank you everybody that joined us. Yay.
Yes, thank you everyone.
So good to see everyone. And nice to meet you, Flor and Ligia.
Thank you.